Colorado governor defends granting clemency to election-denying clerk.
The last Trump ally who was still in prison for 2020 election-related crimes is now being granted clemency and could be released from custody in just over 2 weeks, but not by the president. Instead, Colorado's Democratic governor, Jared Polis, says that election denier Tina Peters will get clemency after admitting that she, quote, made a mistake.
Is that how it works for other crimes?
And misled Colorado election officials. Now, Peters, you may remember, is the former election clerk
delicious.
who is convicted of conspiring
Freshly
with fellow
squeezed orange
election
juice.
deniers to breach her own county's election systems in an attempt to prove President Trump's baseless claims of voter fraud in the 2020 election. Now, the president...
This woman is legitimately one of the most dangerous. She is like an extremist, radical, like unhinged, detached from reality, openly attempted to subvert the election, like criminal meddling, doubled, tripled, quadrupled down on it, made a media spectacle of her failure to successfully tamper with the election, sobbed like a bitch in front of the judge. Demonic woman. Demonic woman. God almighty. We have this no country. No country. Should have gotten 2 life sentences. I genuinely think what she did is treason. I think that we have massively degraded the meaning of the term, and I think that, yeah.
Who launched a very intense pressure campaign on state officials to release her, reacted to this news tonight, posting, quote, "Free Tina." Now, Governor Polis is reducing Tina Peters' 9-year prison sentence in half to 4.5 years. He said she could be paroled, though, within a month after serving less than 2 years in prison. And Governor Polis joins me again tonight. And thank you, sir, for being here. A lot of people might look at this and say, Tina Peters was convicted by a jury of her peers in a conservative-leaning county, no less. Why did you decide to commute her sentence?
I have to start, Caitlin, by correcting just one thing in the lead-in. She did not commit any crimes regarding the 2020 election. She certified President Biden won. This was after the 2021. It was a small municipal election in the town. The results were counted, no ballots were compromised, but she went in and illegally tried to copy software before an update came. So nothing to do with President Trump's election. Just wanted to make that clear. Look, what the appeals court found and what I agree is that fundamentally she deserves time, and she committed 4 felonies. Those are going to stay on her record. We're continuing to fight the president's bogus attempt to pardon her in court. But the truth of the matter is that her speech, meaning her conspiratorial beliefs and what she believes in, are certainly an anathema to me and most of your viewers, and I strongly disagree with. But those are not the basis and should not be the basis.
Just gonna read this from the Wikipedia page. Computer breach, 2020 U.S. presidential election. After elections, Mesa County uses a risk-limiting audit procedure to ensure that the results on paper ballots match the results reported by tabulation machines. The audit process involves a bipartisan group of staff and volunteers to randomly select a number of paper ballots and manually check those results against the results issued by a tabulation machine. On November 19th, 2020, Peters signed off on the result of the risk-limiting audit for Mesa County, stating there were no issues or discrepancies with the results of the 2020 elections. Despite signing those documents, agreeing there were no discrepancies in the election results for the county, Peters met with individuals who promoted the false claim that the 2020 election was illegitimate. In the months following the 2020 election, she allowed an unauthorized person to access the Mesa County Dominion electronic voting machines and copy the hard drives of those machines. She was convicted on felony charges relating to this unauthorized access and sentenced to 9 years in prison. He's just straight up lying. She illegally allowed a person to copy voting machine data from the 2020 election. It happened in 2021 because she had it done after 2020. He's just straight up lying. In May 2021, Peters ordered surveillance cameras monitoring the voting machines in the clerk's office to be turned off and said they would be reactivated in advance of the next election in August 2021. Peters stated that no law or election rule required security cameras that monitor election equipment to operate continuously. At a minimum, they must be on 60 days before an election and 30 days afterwards. Mesa County Commissioner Janet Rowland said Peters had not turned off the cameras after any of the 8 previous elections that Peters had overseen since 2018. In the days following her order to turn off the surveillance cameras, Peters allowed Conan Hayes, co-founder of the clothing company RVCA and proponent of QAnon conspiracy theories, to access the room where Mesa County's electronic voting machines were stored and to copy sensitive information from those machines. Days later, Peters allowed Hayes to be present for a software update to the voting machines and to record video of the update taking place. Peters' chief aide, former Deputy Clerk Belinda Nisley, described Hayes as a, quote, mystery man. Peters later said that she, Bishop Hayes, and the U.S. Representative Lauren Boebert had dinner together on May 24th. So, widespread conspiracy theory about the election being rigged. She shuts off the surveillance cameras, allows a conspiracy theorist to go in there and illegally copy privileged private voting data, and then later gets to enjoy a dinner with a QAnon peddling member of the U.S. House of Representatives. What's the incentive for Colorado's governor to do this? He's a hyper-chud libertarian who's deep in bed with cryptocurrency and AI, if I remember correctly. Probably just like he wasn't gonna win re-election anyway because he's like insanely deferential to Trump and his cronies. So he probably's just grifting so that he gets on board with Nvidia after his term's over.
For a longer sentence than somebody would normally get for this crime. And that's really what the sentence reduction is all about.
There's been blowback from Democrats and Republicans for this. Your Democratic AG
term limited? Okay, term limited.
Called it mind-boggling and wrong as a matter of basic justice. The Mesa County Republican District Attorney who prosecuted her said it was misguided and misunderstood decision that undermines accountability and erodes confidence in the integrity system. The Clerks Association in Colorado said that they're furious, disgusted, and deeply disappointed by the reckless and dangerous message this sends. What message do you think it sends?
Well, first of all, I commuted the sentences of 9 people today. I pardoned 35. Tina Peters was not among those. The Attorney General and the prosecuting attorney from Mesa County were part of the prosecution. And there's something about prosecutorial pride. Prosecutors are seldom, if ever, satisfied by the commutations I make, and sometimes they're quite mad. What a commutation is effectively saying we're going to look at the sentence as a whole. Was it different than other people that committed the same crime? There was, in fact, another public official in Colorado.
He's a lot like what's her name? Director of National Intelligence. The Russian agent, Tulsi Gabbard. He's Jewish and gay, so he's got the like self-promoting culture war stuff on his side when it comes to leaning Democrat. But his turn towards the right is obvious, and he's going to be doing like crypto grift shit for the rest of his life. He's a huge piece of shit. She's Jewish? No. I mean that like Tulsi Gabbard leveraged some of her sort of marginalized cred as a way of legitimizing her presence in the Democratic Party when she was always a conspiracy crank. He is too. It's a why I left the left thing. Man, his wiki page is so much worse than I remember. He relocated migrants via publicly sponsored buses to New York City and Chicago. He did the fucking Greg Abbott thing. Richard Hanania and Nicholas Decker. On X, Polis wrote he would recommend following public intellectuals Richard Hanania and Nicholas Decker. They are both pedophiles. Richard Hanania is a neo-Nazi and a pedophile, and Nicholas Decker is a zoophile and a pedophile. What the fuck? Okay.
Convicted of 4 felonies. One was the exact same felony as Tina Peters, and she got 0 time in prison. She got probation only. Had Tina Peters gotten a year or 2 years or even 3, I don't think anybody would have batted an eye. But the reason we're here is because I fundamentally agree with the appeals court that the fact that she engages in speech and has beliefs that are far from the mainstream, incorrect, should not, in fact, be a basis for harsher sentencing. And 4.5 years instead of 9 years, that's what we adjusted it to, is frankly a tough but fair and defensible sentence for the crimes that she committed.
I just want to follow up on what you said about this having nothing to do with the 2020 election. For people who didn't follow this closely, Tina Peters did give Mike Lindell, who everyone knows is the My Pillow guy, her badge, basically, her someone else's security badge, so he could go in and access the Mesa County election system. And when this was happening, prosecutors said that she was fixated on voting problems after the 2020 election, and had questioned the accuracy of those. And
well, Caitlin, I just hate to interrupt you. This was related to the 2021 municipal election. In the 2020 election,
but
she
did she
certified
give
the
Mike
results.
Lindell?
Biden won.
Did Mike Lindell get access to the election system or not?
Absolutely, absolutely not. Absolutely not. She had two co-conspirators in the case. She illegally got one access to her after 2021. None of these crimes were in 2020. None of them had to do with President Trump's
Just like an
election. If they did, this would be a very different story, and we wouldn't be where we are. This had to do with a minor municipal election and software.
But it came after the president of the United States.
One guy.
he's just straight. Oh no, he's just straight up lying. The breach in access was to check the voting machines used in 2020. It happened after the election, but he stole voting data from those machines. That was the purpose of the crime. It's just straight up. It's just lie. He's just, oh my God.
Tried to overturn the 2020 election, and she was obviously a massive ally of his. And Mike Lindell, I mean, didn't come out of nowhere. He was also chief among those leading the 2020 election. So I just think saying that they're totally separated is not how people view this.
You're speaking to her beliefs. She is somebody who probably, you'd have to ask her, believes in something happening with the 2020 election. Her crimes
Something happening.
were not related to that, actually. And she was county clerk. She certified Biden won. Trump happened to win her county. It's a conservative county. Her crimes were entirely related to the 2021 municipal election. After ballots were counted, nothing was compromised. She had two co-conspirators. They did everything as bad as she did. One got 6 months. One got probation only. And the unusual sentence...
That's not true. She was the county commissioner, and she turned off security cameras and allowed a person to illegally steal data from... I can't... What... It's how does our republic survive this? Not just the lying, but like a Democrat governor granting clemency to a woman this bad. Just the state Dem party hates his ass, and yet here he is. This is part of the downfall, man. Just openly dishonest, hateable. Like people say, well, Fetterman's unpopular now. Yeah, but he was allowed to exist in the first place. Systems can't abide this. You can't have a governor or a senator or a president who's just this openly dishonest. You can't. It doesn't matter if they lied at some earlier point. It doesn't matter if it leads to their unpopularity. You just can't have it. You can't have it. It's like Weimar era judges being lenient to Nazis. A little bit. I think there are meaningful differences. I think that the difference is the Weimar era judges were essentially like the labor aristocracy that were angry that they lived under the rule of weak Democrats. They were chud in heart, whereas nowadays judges are generally relatively liberal. It's more of like a grift economy thing. Like he's gonna be a billionaire in 10 years, if he isn't already. I don't fucking know.